How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Liberty Bowl. So today we're going to be doing a bit of some random red pills. We're going to be looking up some definitions. We're going to be getting into some pretty crazy theories here. I highly suggest you smoke some weed for this, because this shit's going to be fucking mind blowing. So light up. Oh yeah. Before we get into that, let's get into this.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
We're losing our democracy!
More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Wake up!
Before we get into that, let's get into this. How's it going? So welcome to Weekend Red Pills. I'm going to be trying to do this every weekend. I'm going to be putting these together for you so I can drop it off on Monday, and you guys can red pill some of your friends at work. You guys can red pill, some of your family members. You can red pill some of these young social justice warriors out here even. I don't know. You never knows. They don't listen to shit. They don't listen to nothing, because basically these ANTIFA people, these social justice warriors and stuff, they're being led by the Socialist Democratic Party, that is telling them basically that there's social justice issues that need to be addressed, that are dire, that need to be undertaken with force, basically.
It's hard for me to sit around at some birthday party when I know there's so much injustice going on in this world.
I know.
My daddy was right. I can't spend all my time thinking about Dewey Cox no more. I've got to think about the other people.
Like your family?
No, I mean like people that's having injustices done to them. Like women and midgets and such.
The way that they get these young people to do this is through a thing that I'm going to refer to a lot in a lot of these fucking talks, because it's a thing that I believe is the single most damaging ideology in American history, or maybe even in human history, and that thing is victim mentality. So basically what victim mentality does is, if you're ethnic, if you're of ethnic descent, if you're any color other than white, basically that's what they define as ethnic. So, you need to be oppressed. You need to believe you're oppressed. You're not. Who the fuck is oppressed in America these days? What do you mean? You can't get a new iPhone, something like that, so you're oppressed? You can't get a fucking Mercedes, so you're oppressed? No, you're not fucking oppressed. Nobody in the United fucking States is goddamn fucking oppressed. Okay. So basically, they need to convince you that you're oppressed, that the white man is oppressing you. That white people are the devil, that white people are basically the reason that you can't be successful. White people are the reason that, things are the way they are for you, basically. That basically it's out of your control. It's not your fault. It's somebody else's fault. Don't take personal accountability for it. Blame the white man. So how do you get young white kids to, buy into this victim mentality? Who's oppressing them? White people oppressing them too? No. The way that you get them to believe this whole victim mentality is by convincing them that they're the oppressor, and that there's nothing they can do about it, because it's inherently within their white DNA. It's in their white skin that they are oppressors, and that they are always going to oppress these minority groups, and that there's nothing they can do about it. Oh, maybe there is something you can do about it. Why don't you become a social justice warrior? Why don't you join Antifa and fight fascism?
If we didn't show up to oppose fascists when they organized large rallies like the one coming up on Saturday, they would still be finding violence, but they would be finding people who are unprepared.
Right? Fascism. Fascism's terrible. Right? Fascism is terrible, okay? But that's the thing, is, do these people know what fascism is? Okay, so in this, we're going to go into some definitions. We're going to define a lot of these isms. We're going to basically show, how history is revisioned and rewritten. It's basically, the definition of gaslighting, it's basically revisionist history, and we're going to show how these, people are, manipulated into all these crazy acts of violence and extremism through gaslighting.
Violence, vandalism, destruction.
So let's go ahead and get into our first definition. Gaslighting. So, gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation that seeks to sow seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or group. It makes them question their own memory, perception, and sanity. The tactic relies on persistent denial, contradiction, and lying in an attempt to delegitimize the victim's belief. The term gaslighting comes from a 1938 play, a subsequent 1944 film adaptation in which a murdering husband manipulates and confuses his wife by dimming the gaslight in her home and then denying it's happened. So that's what gaslighting is, right? It's pretty, basically it's a ideological subversion, as old Yuri Bezmenov would put it.
Ideological subversion.
It's basically, they have to convince you that you're crazy. They have to convince you that, the past was something different. It's basically, they have to rewrite history. It's revisionist history, and it's used as a manipulation tactic, right? So basically, all these young Antifa people, they're being led into socialist ideologies. Basically, they're being led by those AOC titties right there, right? They're being manipulated into socialist ideology, and it's also being used through identity politics, because of the fact that if you disagree with the young crowd, then you are banished, you are silenced, you are not one of us no more. Basically, it's kind of like with the whole woke movement going on right now, right? You signed up because, okay, yeah, you maybe, cops are killing, black people in a disproportionate amount to white people. Okay, cool. I'll be on board with that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, right on. It's now to the point where, if you don't also believe that trans men can compete in sports with trans women, you were never on the side of us, and now you are a racist and you're a Nazi too. You should just go home. Like, basically, they alienate their own people at this point, because basically, you can't have opposition. You're either in 100% with us or you're out. So it's basically, socialism, and it's, they're trying to manipulate these young kids into these socialist ideologies, which are fucking terrible. Okay, if you look throughout history, socialism, communism basically doesn't work. Actually, let's define socialism. Okay, so let me go ahead and move you on down here. Okay, so what is socialism? Wikipedia defines socialism as: socialism is a left-wing political, social, and economic philosophy encompassing a range of economic and social systems characterized by social ownership of the means of production. They must seize the means of production. As opposed to private ownership, it includes the political theories and movements associated with such systems. Okay, let's check out the Oxford definition of socialism. A political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Basically, it's the idea of utopia, right? So it's, communism was basically the Marxist and fucking the Marx and Engels idea of utopia, basically to where nobody owns nothing. It basically it's everything's all community. It's basically like a giant hippie commune. If you're hungry, go. You walk down the street, walk into the store, grab you some food. Nobody's gonna be greedy ever, right? Because that's not human nature. Humans are not greedy inherently, right? That's why we need to destroy capitalism, because capitalists are greedy and humans aren't greedy. Just Is this not sounding stupid yet? Okay, so in Marxist theory, socialism is defined as a transitional social state between the overthrow of capitalism and the realization of communism. So basically, what it's saying is that socialism is basically the in-between between capitalism and communism. Basically, it is the overthrow of capitalism and the realization of communism. That's literally the exact words it just uses right there. So let's break it down a little bit more simpler. What is socialism in simple terms? Socialism is, broadly speaking, a political and economic system in which the property and the means of production are owned in common, typically controlled by the state or government. Socialism is based on the idea that common or public ownership of resources and means of production leads to a more equal society, to a more socially just, equal society. So that's how they're trying to, that's how they get them into believing in this whole socialism thing, right? They get you to think that it's an equal society. But basically, it's basically, the state or, government controls the means of production, which basically means, if there's, a fucking food system, if there's food plants, it's run by the government will distribute it out to the people evenly, right? Basically, it's made to break down classes, to destroy a classless system. But that's not necessarily true, is it? Because there's still two classes. There's the permanent political class, and there's the people, right? And generally, the reason communism never works and has never worked and will never work is because, as I mentioned before, human greed, that's always going to be an issue there, okay? Human greed is always going to be a problem. The other thing is going to be that basically, if government controls means of production and distributes out, wealth based on, what they feel you deserve as a citizen, and it's equal to everybody, basically it's going to come to a point where, oh well, okay, I don't got to work as hard because I'm still going to get paid the same amount anyway. There's no upward advancement. Basically, everyone is equal. Everyone's equal, right? So what that leads to is basically people stop working as hard. The means of production slows down, right? And then when the means of production slows down, there's of course less food. So when there's less food and the government has to distribute it among the people, well, if there's not enough food to distribute among the people, is the permanent political class going to starve? No. The people are going to starve. And that is what has played out literally every single time communism has ever been tried, ever in history. That is literally what has been the downfall of communism ever. And they're always going to say that, oh, it's just because they didn't have the right leader. They didn't have the right leader. Okay, that you didn't have the right leader to lead this, ideal communist society, this ideal utopia, right? Okay, what if you did have that perfect ideal leader? Which, guarantee, it doesn't exist. Okay, this is a pipe dream. This is fully hypothetical because there's no perfect fucking leader out there. Basically, it's, the way the society works is basically through debate, through fucking, you have to discuss things, you have to fucking argue things, you have to have open discourse, you have to have, you have to discuss things, and fucking basically, that's the way society works. Fucking, as per capitalism is basically, it's basically competition. It's basically the people that own, businesses and stuff. It means that you have to have a more competitive pay rate, because then, if you work at Circle K and Valero over here is paying $10 more, well, guess what's going to happen to your workers over here at Circle K? They're going to quit and they're going to go work at Valero, right? So competition is what always has protected the consumer. Competition protects the consumer, right? So if you could buy a pizza for $10 here, or you could buy a pizza for $20 here, these people aren't going to make very much money, right? These $20 pizzas aren't going to make very much money compared to this $10 pizza that everyone's going to be buying, right? And this $10 pizza is going to be making a ton of money. So in which case, the $20 pizza has to lower its price. It is forced to lower its price or go out of business. This is why capitalism protects the people, okay? So let's get back to it. All right, let's get back to definitions then. Okay, so you always hear these fascists, these anti-fascists, right? Anti-fascists, not fascists, anti-fascists. They're totally not fascist at all. They would never do anything fascist, right? What's fascism? Let's go check out some more definitions. Okay, so Merriam-Webster defines fascism as: the meaning of fascism is a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual. Alright, let's see what Wikipedia, the totally non-biased and totally not edited by far left-wing, basically people that want to rewrite history to make it say what they want it to say. I forgot who it was. There's somebody out there that's like, have you ever had to rewrite, a Wikipedia page just so you could win an argument? I forgot. I don't know. Remember who it was? If you remember who it was, tell me in the comments. All right. So let's see. Wikipedia. Fascism is a form of far-right authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial powers, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and the economy that rose to prominence in the early 20th century Europe. So check out this word right here: forcible suppression of opposition. Does that sound anything like things Antifa do, where how they go and show up at politicians' rallies and stuff like that? They show up at conservative speakings. They show up at Ben Shapiro's. They stop Ben Shapiro from speaking. They basically all day go around and threaten to burn places down and threaten to bomb places, threaten to kill people, just so that certain people cannot be allowed to speak. They are forcibly suppressing the opposition to fight fascism. Let's go on. What does fascism mean in simple terms? A political system headed by a dictator in which the government controls business and labor. That sounds like another way of saying that the government seizes the means of production, right? And opposition is not permitted. So basically, the government seizes the means of production. So sort of similar to socialism, right? And communism. They control businesses and labor. The only difference is opposition is not permitted. That's the only difference, it seems, right? Regimentation of society and the economy. That's pretty weird, right? Fascism. How are you fighting fascism with fascism? Okay, so they're telling you that you're fighting fascism, but they're telling you to do it in a fascist way by forcibly silencing the opposition so that we can seize the means of production. Right? So they're basically telling the socialist political class are telling these young people to go out and fight fascism so that we can bring in socialism and so that we may seize the means of production, and opposition is not permitted. That's pretty weird. Let's see what Socialist Workers Party of the United States. The Socialist Workers Party of the United States is a communist party in the United States. Originally a group in the Communist Party of the USA that supported Leon Trotsky against Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, it places a priority on solidarity work to aid strikes and is strongly supportive of Cuba. The SWP publishes The Militant, a weekly newspaper that dates back to 1928. It also maintains Pathfinder Press. So basically, the Socialist Workers Party is a communist party. But they keep trying to say, no, it's not communism, it's socialism. But the Socialist Workers Party of the United States is a communist party. It says it right here on your own fucking left-wing Wikipedia page, right? Pretty weird, right? There can't be, this is just got to be like a little fringe group, just a little like small minority, maybe like some backwoods, fucking people, that, maybe like a little college fucking fraternity, something like that. There's definitely no high level socialists, is there? Whoa. Democratic Socialists of America. You mean people like AOC and the people like fucking Bernie Sanders, the left wing the left wing Jesuses, basically. So what is a democratic socialist? Capitalism is a system designed by the owning class to exploit the rest of us for their own profit. Okay, see, there's that victim mentality. Okay, they got to make you feel victimized. Okay, like I said, capitalism is the biggest defender of the consumer and the biggest defender of the worker because of the fact that it creates competition. Basically, if there's no competition, then and the government seizes the means of production, then basically you're fucked, right? So we must replace it with democratic socialism, a system where ordinary people have a real voice in our workplaces, neighborhoods, and society. So basically, they want to unionize the entire fucking United States. They want to make, basically they want to make the United States socialist by unionizing, basically saying that they're going to give a voice to all of the workers. They want to make a working party, a workers' party, basically, for the United States. Where basically all the workers get all the say in the means of production and, basically, how it's distributed and this and that. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Okay, right. Good deal. Much like communism, okay? So we believe that there are many avenues that feed into the democratic road to socialism. Our vision pushes further than historic social democracy and leaves behind authoritarian visions of socialism in the dustbin of history. So basically they're saying that we're going to do away with all the old views of socialism and communism, where it's highly authoritarian, where they seize the means of production and then they eventually starve out the people, right? They're going to end that, right? Because they are the ideal communist leader, right? Because like I said, they just haven't done it right before. That's the problem. They just didn't do it right. It wasn't, the fact that people are greedy and that the permanent political class is always going to be greedy and always going to want to exert authoritarian power over the people. And that's totally not at all what it is. Definitely not. So it's pretty crazy, right? So they're trying to build this whole, socialist workers' party, right? This whole, socialist workers' party in the United States. Pretty weird, right? So they're always complaining about, the right's Nazis, the right winger Nazis, they're far right fascists. They're far right fascists. We need to go kill us some fascists, people. Let's go kill us some Nazis, okay? Well, let's see what is a Nazi. A Nazi is defined as a member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. So it's basically, just take out the word German. It's a member of the National Socialist Workers' Party. It's basically the fucking Communist Party. Are these definitions not tripping you guys out yet? Are you tripping yet? So what do I think this all means, huh? Well, let's get to that. So now time for the red pill moment. What do I think? What do I think this might mean? What do I think all these definitions and basically revisioning of history mean? So basically, what I think it means is Hitler was basically, so communism was really, rising up in the late 1800s, basically, after they, the Communist Manifesto and, fucking Marx and Engels and all this shit. Communism was coming into its, blossoming, basically. And socialism was blossoming right alongside it at the same time. Okay, so of course, basically, it was the new ideology of the time. They're doing it everywhere. They're doing it in fucking Germany. They're doing it in Germany? No, the Germans were far right fascists, right? the National Socialist Workers Party, socialism isn't a far left thing. No, oh wait, well, yeah, we just defined socialism as a far left political ideology. So yeah, basically, don't worry, nobody's gonna read into this, right? Right. So this is the gaslighting. You feeling you smelling the gas yet? You smelling it? Okay. So basically, they saw that Hitler came really close to taking over all of Europe, basically, and taking over, a lot of the world, basically, at that time. Basically, the people in power have always wanted power. They've always wanted more power. They never want less power. They never, ever, 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 ever want to give power to the people. That would be wrong. The United States is fucking terrible because they have a constitutional republic where they, have people elect officials to represent their individual states. So that's bad. We can't have that whole type of bullshit going on where it's by the people for the people. We need big government. We need strong government. We need government to have total power over all the people. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Hitler tried it, right? He tried it with his propaganda. He tried it, with all of his rhetoric and stuff like that. So why don't we try the same thing? That's where did he go wrong? Basically his was the racism and shit like that of the time. Shit, everyone was fucking racist back in the 30s. Everybody was motherfucking racist back in the fucking 20s and 30s and shit. Are you fucking kidding me? You think it was just Hitler? You think everyone else was just totally fucking, I love you, brother. Fucking get over here, you big old fucking, other race person of mine. No, people were highly racist back then. Everybody was racist back then. Okay? So that's where they are able to demonize him. Okay, the fact that he used this whole Socialist Workers Party to demonize a certain race and to exterminate a certain race, not just a certain race, multiple races, because of the fact that he wanted to build the ideological utopian for the German people, right? So basically, we have to take all of his rhetoric, bury it deep, tell the people don't ever read it because it's terrible. It's just terrible. Have you ever read Mein Kampf? It's almost the left-wing handbook. Basically, it's separation of church and state. You see the whole thing with Whoopi Goldberg and so how dare the church be able to ban Nancy Pelosi from going and receiving Holy Communion? Who died and made them the moral authority? You mean besides God? Sorry, Jesus. Besides Jesus. And then, basically it's a whole lot of Hitler rhetoric and fucking propaganda and fucking gaslighting that basically goes on, on the left wing. And it's fucking crazy. And if you just take a few minutes to look into it, to research a little bit, or even fuck it, just check my videos out. I'll research for you. Fuck it. Yeah. But I highly, highly, highly recommend always doing your own research. Don't ever just believe somebody, on the internet. How do you know I'm not fucking gaslighting you? I'm just sitting here doing research, defining some words, and they're coming across a bit peculiar to me. So, basically, don't believe everything you need. So I don't know. You can believe it or not. Take it for what you want. Like I said, all I did was I just defined some words for you, and just kind of saw some hypocrisies in them, and some shit that don't make sense to me. And maybe it don't make sense to you either. Maybe you can show some people and it won't make sense to them either. That's the beauty of the red pill. Alright? You've all just been red pilled. Alright, cool. Whether you like it or not, I don't know. Yeah. Fuck off.
So you wouldn't remove your masks and say the things that you just said?
Not
on camera.
Yeah.
To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the
beautiful society of equality and social justice
means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches.